Is it blessed or is it blessed? I never know how to say the word blessed correctly, but it's not a bunch of do's and don'ts. It's really a relationship. You know, you have friends relationships, and they're your friends not because you do the right things or say the right things. It's because you're friends. Today we're finishing up our 3-part series on the word blessed and how the Bible uses it. So let's get to it. So the Hebrew word asher, this is our word for today. It's a variation from the root word asherah from the Hebrew language. So before we get to what it means, let me remind you of a story from the life of Jacob from the Old Testament. So one of Jacob's many experiences he came to his uncle Laban's house to work. Well, Laban said, what should I pay you for the work that you're doing? And he said, don't worry about the money, just pay me with your daughter Rachel. So Laban's younger daughter as his wife after 7 years of work. And so Laban agreed, but after 7 years passed, Laban actually deceived him and substituted his other daughter Leah in exchange for Laban's 7 years of work. Well, Jacob didn't like that, and so Jacob said, hey, what can I do to get your daughter Rachel? And he said, why don't you work for another 7 years? He said, okay. So he worked for another 7 years, and eventually Jacob got what he wanted. He got his daughter Rachel. But this Rachel and Leah relationship and dynamic was always a problem for Jacob's life. And that's going to bring us to where we're talking about the word blessed today. So God blessed Leah with a child named Asher. And this is where our word for blessed comes today. In Genesis chapter 30, verse 13, it says, and Leah said, happy am I, for women have called me happy. So she called his name Asher. Asher means happiness. And we also find this word in Psalms chapter 1, verse 1. It says, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seats of the scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates on it day and night. So here's the deal. Happiness is expressing the sense of joy and satisfaction in one's personal circumstances. So what's it mean for us today? Well, we see the blessing from the birth of God's power from the womb of Leah, and we also see the blessing of a person's conduct from Psalms chapter 1. And so we can conclude today, our final, what does blessed mean, is that we can conclude that God's blessing cannot be done in our own power. You see, Jacob wanted to have Rachel as his wife, but God had his plan in Leah. And then we have our own sinful nature from looking at Psalms chapter 1, where we want to do the things that are wrong, but God wants us to do the things that are right, and we can only be found right with God when we have a right relationship with Him. And it's not a bunch of do's and don'ts, it's really a relationship. You know, you have friends relationships, and they're your friends not because you do the right things or say the right things, it's because you're friends and you have this mutual connection. Well, it's the same thing with God. We can have this mutual connection with God, and it's not just a list of rights or wrongs. So I hope this has been encouraging for you today. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.